Hello everyone and welcome to this thing. Jake, what should we call this?
Fairy Tales with Jake.
Cool. That'll be the title.
Yay.
Meanwhile, I, as always, forgot to set the timer. You know what? No, we don't need a timer for this. It'll go for as long as it goes and stop when it stops. Meanwhile, I'm playing Wizard of Legend in the background. Don't pay much attention to it. It's just a not thinky game for me to play while Jake talks. And also Sam's here.
Hello.
Also, never expect to see Jake ever again because Jake.
Yep.
That wasn't a question. That was a statement, but or not like not a question. That wasn't me addressing you. That was just saying because Jake.
No, I'm aware. I was just agreeing. Alright, so I guess
Now
I'll
it
start
looks
this
like
off.
I'm the fool here.
Yeah, maybe, but
All right,
we'll
so
see.
we gotta start these stories, man.
Alright, so I don't know if you've read this one. I think you did, but we're gonna start off with the the mouse, the bird, and the sausage.
Yep, I know this one.
Alright, so
I do not know this one. So this will be.
Yeah, I know you don't know this one. You don't know any of these. So, there's this house, and I'm pretty sure it's in the woods, and in it live a mouse, a bird, and a sausage, based, off the title. So, they all have their own individual
Typical
jobs. Yeah, so the bird goes and he collects wood for a fire, and the mouse draws water and sets the table for meals.
He draws it with his pencil.
And then the sausage.
Yeah,
Good job, Connor.
Shut up, Jake.
So.
I'm fighting a burst mage. I don't know what that means necessarily, but I know it hurts.
Okay. So the sausage makes stew for the meal, and they're all.
So is it a literal sausage?
I'm pretty sure it's an actual sausage.
So is the stew made of sausage?
Yeah, he gets in the stew at the end to stir it and flavor it. So I think he gets in it and then he stirs it with his body. So yeah, it's a sausage.
Our sausages known for being good cooks.
Okay.
I mean, the bird and the mouse seem to appreciate the stew.
But they are also a bird and a mouse, respectively.
Well, I mean, I don't think the sausage is related to Ramsey, so we'll see.
What are you talking? Oh,
actually. There you go.
Shut up. It's fine.
Do I need to make that more clear for the viewers at home?
Do you need to make more clear for Sam?
Gordon Ramsay.
Glad you have so much faith
I
in
guessed.
Good.
So much faith in Sam.
So. Alright, so one day.
By the way, I'd like to mention that this isn't gonna go up for like a whole week.
Cool. So one day, the bird goes out to the woods to, get wood for the fire, and then he comes across another bird. So here's something you need to know about the surrounding people in this area. They all just want to start. Yeah, they just all want to start garbage with each other. Like none of them are happy with their lives. So the bird meets another bird, and he tells the other bird about how he's pretty happy with his life and the job he does compared to his friends. So the other bird says, "Nah, man, your friends aren't doing nearly as much work as you're doing, so you better stop doing your job until they start picking it up." And the bird's like, "You know what? You're right." So he comes back and says, "I'm not getting wood anymore because you guys don't do enough work." So they all rotate jobs. So now the bird draws water and sets the table. The sausage goes out to get wood, and the mouse makes the stew. So the sausage goes out to get wood for the fire, and then he doesn't come back. So the bird and the mouse get worried. So the bird goes out to find the sausage, and then he finds a dog instead. And the dog says, "This sausage had forged letters, so he had to die."
Wait.
And I'm pretty sure it was forged letters, as in like.
Yes, as in forging a signature.
Yeah. So.
With how? He doesn't have hands, does he?
I don't know, man. I think he was just
I
really
mean, if
hungry
it's a
and he was trying
sentient
to come up with
sausage, you
something.
can cook.
Yeah.
But like, it gets
So-
into the pot to stir it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that.
Also,
that's
can we have
all
like a
he does.
sitcom based off of these characters?
That would be wonderful. I mean, we'll talk about that after the story.
Of course, we have to have a deep, in-depth
Yeah.
discussion about what we've learned.
Well, not exactly in depth. There's just might be a reason why we can't have a sitcom for the characters.
I mean, I assume it's
So-
they all die, but like
Yeah.
the sausage is already dead.
so-
I imagine
Yeah,
the bird
so
can't
sausage
be
is
too good
dead
at
'cause
getting
the
water,
dog
and I
ate
already
it.
read the story, so.
Yeah, you already read the story, so you stop talking.
Oops, what? There's a cat outside my door. I don't have a cat.
Cool. Huh?
No idea whose cat it
real
is.
life, or- Oh, cool. Should go make him into a stew.
I mean, I would, but
No-
like,
nothing to
I
say
don't know
to
where
that?
that cat's
Oh,
been.
okay. Alright, so the
got
bird
decked
being
by
really
a
upset
brick.
about
Anyway,
the bird being really upset about his friend the sausage dying goes back and he tells the mouse. And the mouse and the bird are like, alright, let's just try and continue the night, I guess. So,
we'll just act like it never happened.
the mouse goes back. Yeah, so the mouse goes back to making the stew, and because he has to do the job of the sausage, he figures, hey, I have to jump into the stew now and stir it. Now here's the thing about jumping into a pot of boiling stew.
Is that it's
The mouse
boiling.
dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the mouse dies trying to finish the stew. And then the bird gets real upset about this. And he ignores the fact that the fire is getting out of control, which wood was collected for. So now the fire is just going
Hey, how'd the
everywhere.
wood get there?
And the bird... I don't know. It's just there.
I thought the sausage was getting it and then it was eaten. Dude, plot hole.
Yeah, I know.
I was really in
Yeah, I
depth.
know.
I was really caring about the in-depth lore and internal consistency of this world.
Yeah.
Dude,
the
I think the story's
consistency
ruined
of
for me
the
now.
Sausage. Yeah, well, anyway. The bird in a
How could it be
panic
ruined? You've
grabs-
already read it.
So
They don't
the
have
bird
to
goes
know.
to grab. Look. So the bird goes to get the water, but he misjudges how heavy the water bucket is. So he tries to pick it up, and then he falls into the water and he drowns, and that's the end of the story.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Cool.
I got a healthcare card apparently.
Cool.
Don't know what that's all about.
So, reason number
Can we
one.
establish to the
why
audience
there
that
can't be-
neither of you can see what I'm doing and it's completely unrelated?
Yeah, it is.
Cool. That's what I just
Anyway.
said, Jake. Glad you reaffirmed what I said.
Yeah, you should be, because I could have just been like, you're not even playing a game. You just stole someone else's gameplay, and you're sitting there all alone. But guess what? You're not. You're welcome. Anyway,
This is why Jake's never coming
yeah,
back
that's
on
the
the
end of
show.
that story. Yeah, that's what I thought. Alright, so reason number one why we can't have a sitcom is because they're all dead. So it would be a
What's
pretty
reason
boring
number two?
sitcom, I think. Reason number two. I don't think there is a reason number two.
You said there are multiple reasons.
It's just-
I need another multiple.
I just said, look, I said reason number one. That's it. It doesn't mean.
No,
there's a
earlier
second
you said multiple. You said there's a few reasons
one. Okay.
why we couldn't make a sitcom.
Reason number two, then the mouse, it has stage fright. Yeah, very, very bad. So he wouldn't be able to talk in front of a live audience or.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
it's based off the exploits of these characters, not like the characters themselves.
Alright, well then I guess we could make a sitcom. There you go.
Got it.
Alright.
My favorite episode will be the one where the mouse gets eaten or whatever. Also, so like, animals are they just actual animals? Do they still exhibit like animal properties? If so, why were the cat and mouse living together? And what about the sausage? Why
You
was
mean
it
the
sentient?
mouse
I need
and
to
the
know the
bird?
deep lore behind this place.
Look, I don't know, man, but we're moving on to the next story.
Okay.
Okay. So the next one, I'm pretty sure, is called The Three Sons of Fortune. And so there's a farmer man who is dying, and he has three sons, of course. So he says, I don't have
Jake,
much to give.
why
in
couldn't
the
it
way
be a
of
farmer
money."
woman?
I don't know. Let's not get political here.
Alright, continue.
So the farmer says, I don't have any money to give you, my sons, but I do have possessions, and I believe if you try hard enough, you can get great value out of them. So he gives
goes the
one
whole
of his
time and
sons-
possesses them. That's why you read your contracts, kids.
Of course.
I swear, dashing into
So-
holes in this game is like the #1 cause of death. Anyway, continue.
So he gives his first son a cock,
Um,
and then he gives his second son a
care to
scythe.
clarify, this is a kids show.
A cock is a rooster. You're
Good.
welcome.
We don't swear on this show. I'm not sure if I told you that ahead of time.
It's not a swear, it's a term.
You're on thin ice, Buster!
Alright, look. Alright.
One more outburst like that and you're off the case.
So the second son gets a scythe, and then the third one gets a cat. And they're like, how are we gonna do this? So the first son is like, you know what, I'm gonna follow my dad's advice and go try and get money out of this rooster. So he goes to all these different villages, and they're like,
That
we
wasn't
already
his
have roosters
advice.
here. Like,
Why did he say that?
what? Well, he's like, I'm sure with great work you can get value out of them.
Okay, you never said that
So-
part.
I thought I did,
did
but
say that.
okay. Yeah. So,
Well, I guess
first son goes
I'm
with
the
his
jerk
rooster.
here.
Yes.
Anyway, can I tell my story now, or? Okay.
That's all, folks.
That's
Yada da 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 da. Yada da 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 da. Yada da 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 da.
I'm glad you got that in there.
I
That's
can buy
some
a
good
horse
footage
hat.
right there.
Anyway, continue.
So every village he gets to has roosters already. They're like, "What are you doing, you idiot? Like, we don't need any more roosters." And then, as luck would have it, he finds a village that has never heard of a rooster before, or seen one for that matter. And they're like, "What is this creature?" And he's like, "Well, you see, it calls at 2 a.m., 4 a.m., and 6 a.m. every morning, so you know when you gotta wake up in the morning." And the people are like, "Wow, it really works," because they tested the rooster. They took the rooster out for a test
Yeah,
drive.
they did a trial run. You can't. You have to have the beta before you pre-order, right, Sam?
Yes.
I'm making fun of you because you pre-ordered
Yes, you
Fallout
do.
76.
Shush.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but shush.
Alright, so the people are like, "We'll give you anything you want for this rooster." And he's like, "I'll take as much gold as a donkey can carry." He doesn't say donkey, he says the other term, but I'm saying donkey for Connor's sake.
To be
Anyway.
fair, Shrek said it, so I think it's fine.
Okay.
Also, there are
Well,
definitely
I'm
a
not
few
gonna
times
say
where I
it.
didn't catch Tyler in the Mario video.
So he comes back to his other two brothers with a donkey that's just carrying a ton of gold, and the second brother's like, "Whoa, sick!" So he takes his scythe and he's like, "I'm gonna go and try and do the same thing that you did." So he goes. To
How is
all the
that gonna
villages,
work?
And they're like,
How many villages haven't
know,
discovered
man.
basic
Just wait.
resources?
"Look, it's called the Three Sons of Fortune. You gotta guess where this is going."
Fair.
So all the villagers are like, "You're dumb. We already have scythes. Get out of here." And then he finds a village that's never heard of a scythe, and they have all this corn. But the thing is, they can't harvest the corn fast enough, and most of
They
it
don't
goes
have a
bad
scythe.
because they don't have scythes. Yeah. So he's like,
do you
"Watch
use the
this." He
scythe for
cuts
wheat?
down like, yeah. So he cuts down all of the corn in the area, and they're like, "Whoa!" And they're like, "We'll give you anything you want." And he's like, "I'll
I
have
want a
horse that
rooster."
can carry gold." Yeah. So they're like, "Okay, here's a horse with as much gold as I can carry." And then he comes back. The third brother's like, "Cool, I'm gonna do the same thing with this cat now." So then he goes.
Oh, I really want to
and
make
they're
the
like,
joke
"Oh."
I would have been making last time, but I said the joke was dead and I'm sticking to it.
All right.
No one will know what I'm talking about. It's okay. Continue.
All right, cool. So he goes to all the villages again. They're like, "Why are you trying to sell us a cat? We have cats." And then he finds one village. Well, it's a kingdom actually. He finds a kingdom that is completely overrun with mice. They're pretty much dancing on the tables. I think that's how it's described in the story.
What?
And
Yes.
Oh, to be away from the mice. I just imagine like that's how they thought to fight off the mice.
No, the mice are dancing on the table.
Oh, I thought you meant the people were.
No. So
Ha,
that'd be
silly
great if this guy
rabbit.
walked into a
Mouses
kingdom.
can't dance. Because
Great,
cats
this
don't
man walked
dance.
into a kingdom.
Yada da
Look.
da da.
Alright, so anyway. Man comes in with a cat, and the cat quickly clears 2 houses of the mice. And he just eats them all. And they're like, wow, we've never seen a cat before. How much for this cat? And he's like, it'll eat all the mice
You
in your
sounded
kingdom,
really
and all I ask
patronizing when you
is...
said that, so I believe. I don't know why, but the way you said it was like, wow, like we totally didn't think to use cats, and that worked perfectly.
Yeah, the mice killed the cats.
The mice were the cats. They're like zombies.
super
Every
mice.
every cat that falls becomes a mouse.
Oh no. So
I'd
he's
watch
like,
that
I'll
anime.
take all the golden jewels a horse can carry, and they're like, great. So he takes the horse back, and then the brothers are rich.
Why are they
That's
so
not the end of the
specific?
story.
They're being offered anything at all, and then they're just like,
Yeah.
nah, man, I want as much gold as can comfortably be carried by a horse. It's like, why?
Yeah.
What I
don't know,
want,
that's how it goes,
what
but
I
that's not the
want
end.
is I want the amount of gold that is a prime number that is a multiple of 7.
Yeah, so, ignoring you entirely, I'm gonna continue the story.
Cool. Also, there's an item here called a friendship bracelet. Increased damage and movement speed when you're with a true friend, so I'm never gonna use that even when Tyler's here.
Nice!
Especially when Tyler's here.
Alright, so, after a little while, the cat has eaten, like, a ton of the mice in this kingdom, and now it's thirsty. But of course, these people don't know what a cat is, so they don't know that it needs to drink water. So it starts meowing really loudly, and then all the people become afraid of it. Like, oh, what it could be an unknown evil. We'd much rather have the mice that we already know suck than the cat that we don't know what it could do. So they get a meeting together, and the king is like, hey, let's send someone to try and like make a peace treaty with the cat. So they send a guy in. He's like, will you agree to leave the kingdom peacefully? And then the cat replies, meow meow, which is perceived by the person as, no, no. So, they all get together again, and they decide that the best course of action to take is to burn the entire kingdom to the ground to kill this cat. But then the cat jumps out a window and runs away, and they just burn down the entire kingdom, and that's the end of the story.
So, what's the moral here?
I don't know.
Don't be
Know
a
what a
dumb
cat is?
cat.
Look,
how's
if they
the cat
just
dumb?
gave it... Yeah, the cat's the smart one
I
here.
wasn't listening, I was reading something.
So, the next one is called The 12 Brothers. And it's about these 12 brothers, and they have a father and a mother who are the king and queen of this kingdom in wherever land. That's not what it's called.
I believe you mean to say.
Probably. So,
Underland.
the queen is pregnant
Underland.
with a 13th child, and the king decides, hey, if you birth a daughter, we're gonna kill all 12 of our sons so our daughter can have the entire fortune, rather than
Wait.
splitting it among 13 children.
Why?
Yeah. I don't know.
When is this story
he's like,
taking
"But if
place?
it-"
Medieval times, I would assume?
I guess.
Then
So-
why would they
but he
do that?
says-
It's like a known fact that they would have wanted a son. Whatever. If it was a son
Yeah, so...
and it was like a bunch of daughters, then it would make sense.
Connor, you
All
said
right.
whatever, and then you continued to explain.
So...
But Sam,
but
I
then
don't
he
like
says-
your attitude.
Connor!
Dude, you shouldn't!
Well, you know, because of that and only that, we're never doing another episode of the... I was hoping by the time I finished that, I would have remembered the name of the game. Sea of Thieves! That's what it is. Only that. That is the only reason we'll never do another one.
Curses.
Can I
We were
keep
both
telling my
really,
story
really
now?
wanting to do that, and we're super excited.
Alright. So the king says, if it's a boy, we're gonna let all 13 of the sons live, and then we're gonna split the fortune between them. I don't know why he decided that if it was a girl, he would kill the 12 sons, and then... yeah, but... So he orders 12 coffins to be made with, like, straw shavings and little pillows in them for the sons, just in case it's a daughter. And he hides them in a room, and he locks the door, and he gives the key to the queen, and he says, "Don't tell anyone about this." And so the queen gets really upset about this because she doesn't want to kill her 12 sons, and then she starts crying. And her youngest, the 12th son, who's near her a lot, is like, "Mother, why are you crying?" And she's like, "I dare not tell you." And he says, "You can tell me." And she's like, "Fine. If I have a daughter,
Fine, you've
we're gonna kill all
overpowered
of
me.
you."
Now what am I gonna do? Not tell you? Oh, you make this so hard. It's like, you don't have to tell me. No, you can't do this to me.
So
I
the
guess
queen
Sam's back.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I said
the
that.
queen goes.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Look.
Or I wasn't listening.
"Would
Both are
you-"
possible.
Okay. So the queen goes.
It's about me being back.
Shut up.
Okay.
I knew that was the point.
Go ahead.
So the queen goes, "If it's a daughter, we're gonna kill all of you, and we have coffins." And then she shows her son the coffins, and he's like, "Oh no!" And the queen goes, "But if you take your 11 other brothers and go out and hide out in the woods, and climb to the top of the tallest tree, and then you can you could each take turns looking and live out in the woods until the 13th child is born. And I'll send up a white flag if it's a boy, and you can all come back. But if it's a red flag, then that means it's a daughter, and you have to hide away
What
forever."
if it's a pink flag?
There's no pink flag.
What if it is a pink flag? Alright, go.
Alright. So the sons are like, "Okay, we'll go out into the woods." So they go out into the woods, and then they climb the tree, and then one night the 12th son sees well, one day actually, it wasn't night. One day, the son sees it's a red flag. Queen had a daughter. And then all of the brothers get angry, and they're like, "Why should we die because a girl was born? We swear to kill every girl we see from now on."
That seems
So they
very short-sighted, and also... No, wait. Never mind. That doesn't logistically make sense. Never mind.
So they continue to live out in the woods because they will be killed if they're found, because the king said kill them if it's a daughter. So they find an enchanted house in the middle of the woods, so they decide to live there. And
Is
they
this
all
the
agree
origin
to leave.
story for 4chan?
I don't know, man. Maybe.
Sounds like it.
And the 11 older sons agree to leave the 12th youngest son at the house to tend to it and prepare food because he's the weakest and the youngest. Because, yeah, that's how it is. And then all the 11 others go out to hunt animals and collect the food. So they're going at this for a while. I think it's like at least a decade or something. And then one day, they're living pretty happy life. So one day, the daughter, who is now older, she's going through the laundry, and she sees 12 shirts that are for men. And she turns to her mother and she says, "Whose do these belong to? They're not my father's. They're too small." She says,
Wait,
the queen says,
so it's been
"Oh,
like a decade before anyone did any laundry.
yeah, I guess." Welcome to medieval times.
Welcome to medieval times. Can I get you another Pepsi? Don't ask why you get another Pepsi right when you enter. It's fine.
So the queen goes, "By the way, you have 12 brothers, and your father said we were gonna kill them if we find them, because you were born." And the daughter goes, "That's terrible. I'm gonna take these shirts with me, and I'm gonna go out in the woods and find them, and tell them they can come back safely, because I will make sure they receive no harm." And So she goes out into the
And
woods.
she gets shanked in the
and then
woods
she
by them. It's pretty obvious what's gonna happen.
No, that's actually not what happens.
How?
Alright, so she goes out into the woods and then she finds the house. And she finds the 12th youngest brother. And he sees her, and she's beautiful, of course, because it's always a beautiful maiden in the story. And then...
Oh no, is this getting all Oedipus up in here?
No,
But not quite.
So the daughter shows him the shirts, and she says, I am your sister, and I've come to tell you that you're safe. And he's like, oh my god, so then they like kiss and they hug and whatever, not sexy. And then the brother
clarified.
says, but there's... And then one of the 12 sons says, but there's a problem still. My other 11 brothers have sworn to kill any maiden that they see. So I'm gonna hide you in this tub here, and when they come back, we'll discuss it. And then I'll try and convince them not to kill you. She's like, okay. So the 11 brothers come back, and 12th brothers, somehow I'm the only one who stays in this house, and I know more than any of you do. And they're like, how is this? And he says, first I need you to make me a promise. Swear not to kill the first maiden we see. And they're like, okay. And then he pulls his sister out of the tub, and she's like, I'm your sister. And they're all like, yay, it's our sister. And they all hug and stuff. And they're so happy to see her because she's beautiful, their sister, and she's nice. And then what ends up happening is the princess, well, I guess she's a princess, yeah. So the daughter decides she's gonna live in the woods with the boys. And she stays with the 12th son, preparing food and keeping the house clean and whatever. While the other 11 go out to
Why
collect
don't
food.
they go back to the castle?
I don't know. They just decide to live in the enchanted house because it's nice. And then
Not as nice as a castle.
One day,
I have a question. Why
I
is
don't
this
know.
house enchanted?
well, you'll see why it's enchanted if Connor would shut up.
I don't appreciate your attitude, Jake. Go on.
Alright, so one day the daughter sees a bunch of like beautiful lilies, and there's 12 of them, and she decides she'll pick them and put them at the table where the 12 brothers sit like, for their dinner, because that would seem
They're
nice.
deathly allergic
And
to
as she
flowers.
picks them,
The moral of the story
As
is
she
to never get
picks
flowers
them-
for anyone. You haven't said that's not
As she
what's gonna
picks-
happen yet.
look.
You still
As
haven't
she
said
picks
it.
them- Okay. What
You
happens?
still aren't saying that's not what's gonna happen, Jake.
I just said that's not what's gonna happen.
You haven't said it yet, Jake. Anyway, fighting a crash night. Hopefully my game doesn't crash. Yeah, da.
Stop it.
I hope it does.
Me too. Okay, go. Jake.
So as she picks the lilies, she notices that her 12 brothers all turn into ravens and fly away, and then she starts crying, and an old woman comes out of the woods, and she's like, what are you doing? Don't you know that this house is enchanted, and if you pick the lilies, they'll turn into ravens? She's like, no, why would I know that?
Also, a bit of a tangent. I just got multiple layers of deja vu right now.
Ow. Okay.
So like I had deja vu of this event at a different event, and that's the deja vu I had. That's poorly described
Cool.
because I know none of it actually happened, but still. I am
that's-
12.
Okay.
Okay, go.
So, I guess she's a witch. It's not made very clear. They just say old woman. So,
Why
the
do you
old
gotta
woman
assume they're all
says,
witches? Hashtag not all witches. I guess it'd be hashtag not all old women.
so, hashtag not all old woman, old woman says, if you keep yourself the next 7 years, your brothers will turn back into humans, which just means that she's not allowed to talk or make noise or anything for the next 7 years. So the daughter's like, okay, I'll do that, but she says that in her head because the woman tells her if she talks at some point during this time, they will all die.
That's so needlessly
the next
obtuse.
7. Yeah. So she starts her vow of silence for the next 7 years, and she decides to keep living in the woods for whatever reason. And then,
people, right?
yeah. And then a hunter and his dog find her, like, hanging out in a tree, and he's like, yo, what are you doing? And she doesn't say anything, but she's beautiful, so he's like, you know what? Why don't you marry me? And she can't say anything because she's not supposed to talk for the next 7 years. And he's like, okay! So they get married.
Wait. Okay.
And then
Time
at the
period,
wedding,
I
like,
guess.
she doesn't talk or laugh or anything. And her new
Like, what
her
if
new
there's a really
stepmother,
funny
which is-
joke? Like, then what's she gonna do?
Well, she's not allowed to laugh. So
What if it's
cry.
involuntary? Does that count?
She has to control herself.
That sounds really mean.
Well, that's how it goes in the
That's what
fairy
happens
tale.
when your brothers turn into ravens. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat. Am I right, ladies?
I hate that.
Alright, go, Jake, before I make things worse.
Uh-huh. So
Not sure if it's possible,
the-
Shush.
but it's fine.
No, it's not. Stop talking. So the daughter continues not to speak, and she gets married with the man, and then her new stepmother, the hunter's mom, says, "Hey, your new wife, she doesn't talk at all, and that might be a sign
What's
of a
up with
bad
that?
conscience." Well, she's like, even if your wife is dumb, as in she can't speak, she can still laugh. And if she refuses to laugh, that means she has a bad conscience and should die. So she tries to tell the daughter a joke, and of course she doesn't laugh, because if she laughs, then all of her brothers will die. It's been a couple years now at this point. And the son's like, no, she's not evil, but after like years of the mother
I really want it to be
being like,
6 years, 11 months, and 29 days.
so
She was just 2 days away from retirement.
So after years of the mother being like, she's evil, the son's like, okay, yeah, maybe she's evil. So they decide to burn her. And so they put her up on a stake, and then they set a fire, and as the flames start to lap around her dress, the 7 years ends, and the 12 ravens fly down to where she's being burned, and then they turn back into humans, and then they put out the fire, and then she immediately starts talking, and she's like, oh my god, I couldn't tell you because of the 7 years thing, or whatever. These are
I
my
never
brothers.
loved
They
you."
would've died if I'd spoken. I never loved you. No, she doesn't say that, but then,
We all know.
and the stepmother still doesn't like her, and then she dies a miserable death. And yeah, that's the
Who
story.
dies? The stepmother?
The stepmother who accused her of being evil.
Even though that's kind of not the like least likely thing in the world.
Yeah,
Okay, so I
that's
have a
just like
question.
that's just a sentence tacked onto the end. Like the end of the story should have just been like, yeah, and then they lived happily ever after. But then they tack on at the end, by the way, the stepmother died a miserable death.
We just reestablished that the same person who wrote a sausage cook also wrote that story.
Yes.
We also established that there was a king and queen in this movie, or in this
movie.
fairy
This
tale.
has been a movie the whole time.
And where did they go?
Starring Danny Trejo. Okay, go Jake.
Alright, so I got another one now. It's called King Thrushbeard. And so it starts off with a king, not King Thrushbeard, it's a different king. This king has a daughter,
Thrushbeard.
and this daughter's Whooshbeard. Anyway. He has a daughter, and the daughter's very beautiful. But every time
His name. Don't laugh at his name. He's very self-conscious.
Okay.
Better say
Look.
Russian name.
Mhm.
Also, I would love if
Stop
So-
interrupting,
Thrushbeard.
Connor.
I would love if
Would
Thrushbeard
you-
did not have a beard.
Uh-huh.
Also,
Well,
Sam, shut
that's
up. The whole
not-
point of this is to interrupt Jake.
Not if it's needless. Anyway.
Pretty.
Yeah, that part was needful. Anyway. Again, anyway squared. The daughter, every time the king tries to set her up with someone, she finds a way to criticize them. Like, anything to criticize them. It doesn't matter. There's no
That was
man
me.
for her. So, the king sets up a dinner and invites like all of the important people from all of the realms in like varying, like, what are they? Like things of power.
By the way, I
positions of
died and
power.
it's showing me like a highlight reel. My highlight reel is me buying something and then my death.
Nice.
Good job,
So,
Connor.
so the princess goes down the line. She's like, he's too tall, he's too short, he's too fat, and that man right there, why, he looks like he has a thrush for a beard. And then
What?
from then on,
What does
that
that mean?
king was called King. I don't know. It looked. She said like his chin looked like a thrush or something.
What is that? What is
So-
a thrush?
I don't- I
Sam,
think it's a
Google
bird.
it. Be actually useful to the episode.
Wow.
Okay,
Unlike what you currently are.
okay, my brother is outside my room right now. He's like outside driving his tractor around, just revving it.
Just mute your
That's all
mic
he's
then.
Well, he's
I
gotta
would,
look
but I
up
still
what a
want to
thrush
have
is.
input because I have to retaliate to you yelling at me to look up what a thrush is.
Well,
You should
like-
still look up what a thrush is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks.
Should I continue or should we wait for Sam to look up what a thrush is?
Just continue. It'll happen when it happens.
Alright.
Oh, this is a really cool power. Anyway.
Alright. So the king, tired of his daughter being picky, says, you know what?
Tired of
The
all that
next
thrush.
beggar. Yeah. So he says, you know what? The next beggar who comes in here, I will force you to marry. And then, not very long after, a poor beggar musician comes outside of the castle and he starts singing up to the castle windows, and the king's like, let him in. So then he sings to the king and the daughter, and the king says, I like your singing, so you're gonna marry my daughter. And the princess is very upset by this, but she has to. So she goes and she marries the musician, and then they travel back to the musician's house. And and over the course of this journey, they go through a great forest, and she's like, wow, what a beautiful forest. Who does this belong to? And the musician responds, oh, it belongs to King Thrushbeard. And she says, oh, I would have married him if I knew he owned this beautiful forest.
He was
Then
the
they
king the whole
happen
time.
across-
Calling it.
no. So they
I'm
happen
not
across
calling it.
a great.
Okay, you
They happen
continue.
across a great meadow. All right. And she's like, "Wow, this meadow is beautiful. Who does it belong to?" And the musician goes, "Oh, it belongs to King Thrushbeard." She says, "Oh, I would have married him if I knew he had this." And then they happen across a great village. And she's like, wow, what a great village this is. Who does it belong to? And the musician goes, it belongs to King Thrushbeard. He's like, oh, I
Clearly
would've
getting tired
married
of
him
this
if I knew."
nonsense by now.
Yeah. And then they finally make it to the like this rundown building. And she's like, oh, what a I mean, not beautiful, ugly building.
Ooh, what a beautiful, rundown, terrible building this is. Who does it belong to? Why, King Thrushbeard. Oh, I would have married him if I knew he lived in this hovel.
Yeah, so I think I got stuck on a loop there with the word beautiful. Anyway, she's like, what is, like, who would even live in a rundown hovel like this? I think that's what
Hovel?
she says, actually.
Hovel. With an O.
Whatever. oh wait, yeah, hovel. Sorry. So-
Not Tyler, jeez. I'm used to complaining to Tyler about things like this. I said hovel earlier in the sentence just before you started speaking.
Uh-huh.
And then your
Okay,
response was
little side
hovel.
note. Thresh. Separate
Thrush?
grain
Thrush.
from a plant, typically with the flail or the action of a revolving mechanism. That's how
Sam,
you
how is
use
that
it.
spelled?
Thresh.
It should be R-U-S-H.
That is the
Thrush.
wrong thing, Sam.
Good job, Sam.
You said thresh, not thrush.
We said
You said
thrush
thrush
several
so
times.
many
It's on video.
The man's name is King Thrushbeard.
Okay, let me find it.
That one is exclusively on you, Sam.
So the musician goes, oh, that's my house that you're talking about. And then he says, as a side note, by the way, should I be worried that you keep on talking about how you would have married another man and not me? And she's like, no. He says, okay. So they go into the house. He says, alright, I gotta put you to work because otherwise we're not gonna have enough money to live. So he says, I know, you'll weave baskets. And then she tries to weave baskets and she bruises her hands making baskets. She says, I can't do it. So he says, okay, so you're no good at making baskets.
Okay, I found it.
Alright.
It's spelled
Okay.
Trush. Dang it, Sam.
Okay,
Trush.
so it's an infection
Trash.
of the mouth and throat.
Thrush?
Yes.
I'm gonna
Okay.
make an assumption and assume
Or
that's
if
not
you
the
want
same
another
thing.
definition, it's a small or medium-sized songbird.
I'm pretty
But I
sure
know
they're
that
talking
wouldn't
about
be
the
accurate.
bird.
No, I feel like
I'm
it's a
pretty
bird.
sure they're talking about the bird.
You thought it was
Yeah.
a throat infection and not a bird.
Alright. So,
That does wonders for my self-esteem.
sorry.
Good. Cry like sprinkles.
Oh. Oh, yeah.
It's fine. I'm gonna make a video with him later. This is just an allusion to his existence.
Great. So, then the musician says, I know, you will weave, clothing, or whatever. Thread, that one. So, she goes to start weaving,
Jake, do
and
you
then
wear
she cuts
only
her
thread?
fingers. Yes. It would explain a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So, she cuts her fingers trying to weave, and then he says, okay, so you're no good at weaving. Cool. I know, you will sell pots at the corner of the market, because you are now a beggar like me. So then she goes to sell pots, and they make a decent living off of it. And then one day, a man tramples over all the pots on a horse, and she comes home and she's really upset because she had
Your
set up a
boy
little
Trash
like somewhere a little
knows.
bit different.
Should've said trash boat.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, go on.
So she goes to her husband and she says, all the pots were shattered by the man on the horse. And then he's like, why would you set up there? In that new place? You should have kept on setting up in the old place. And she's like, I thought we would get more servers. He's like, I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, you broke the pots. So then she gets real upset. And he's like, you know what? The nearby kingdom said they were looking for a kitchen wench. Perhaps you could be one of those. So she goes to apply for being a kitchen wench, and they
Does
accept.
an entire
and
kingdom
so-
put out an ad for that?
I guess.
That'd be like if the entire city of New York put out an ad because they needed a bartender.
I mean, yeah. So then she
continue.
becomes a kitchen wench, and she's allowed to take like the scraps from other people's plates to eat.
And she
And
never
they don't
meets
pay her.
Tramp. That's his name now instead of Thrushbeard. I realized after
So-
saying it that the mental process hadn't gone through anyone else's head because that's not how the mind works.
Yeah. So she's only allowed to eat the scraps from other people's plates, and she's not paid. And then one day, someone there was having a wedding, and they were like, "Here, you can have a little bit of extra food because you're helping out with this wedding." And then at some point, a man comes up to her. She's like, "Oh, you're beautiful. Let me dance with you." And she's like, "No, I'm just a beggar. You can't dance with me." And he's like, "Sure, I can." So like he grabs her, he drops.
It's your boy,
Clothing.
King Dip Dang. Tim.
All right. So then the man like dances with her, and they're slowly moving towards the king. And then the king grabs her and offers her to dance. And lo and behold, it's King Thrushbeard. And he says,
The man who's named after a throat infection.
Yep. And he says, just so you know,
Not living that one down,
I
Sam.
still loved you.
Anyway.
I still loved you even after you insulted me. So, I pretended to be the musician and the man who broke the pots. I lied to you, Connor.
Okay, I realize that, but that seems so needlessly convoluted. How did he do that? Why did he do that?
Well, I don't know.
It's just.
And then he said, for his reasoning for this was, because you insulted me, I figured I had to try and get you to, like, let your pride go.
That's
So
so
I planned
needless.
this all out for you.
Why was he
And then
originally
she's like,
dressing as a
"Okay."
beggar? No one else knew about that whole caveat or whatever. Caviar. No one else in the kingdom
but-
knew that the first beggar who showed up was going to become the one that she married. So why was he dressing like a beggar?
I mean, maybe, I think the king might have said that, like, while
Those are
everyone
questions
was
that
there.
need answers.
But I'm not
Why?
sure.
Why
don't
would
know. I
why
don't-
would he say
go
that?
ask-
Then inevitably someone's gonna exploit it.
Look, go ask the Grimm brothers, okay?
I can't. They're dead.
Well, then maybe you should die too.
That's my Sprinkles impression. Sprinkles would say it would
Anyway.
be accurate.
It's needless to say that it worked in letting her pride go, and then she marries him, and they live happily ever after at the end.
Wait, but why did she make him? Why did she make her be a beggar for so long when she specifically said on the ride there that she would have married him so many times?
Well, she needed to lower her pride because she had insulted him, and he was a man of great power. So
But
he needed
but she said multiple times that that she would have married him.
Yeah, but he had
So
to
I'm
get
gonna-
back at
I'm
her
gonna
for
peeked the
insulting him.
the audio on this thing like 3 times over.
Do you want to take a break right now, or?
No, it's fine. How many more stories
Okay.
do you have?
I think we might be done, but I
Why
have
did you
one.
offer
It's
me a
hard to-
break when we were done?
Look. I'm just, hold on, I'm gonna make sure, like, I have good ones.
Why
'Cause
are
there
you the
two
one
that
offering me a
aren't-
break? This is my video.
Look, man, I'm the one, I don't know. Alright, I've got one, it might be okay.
You mean it might be
It's called
okay?
The Wren and the Bear.
I'm worried
Okay,
by you saying
so-
it might be okay.
Well, I mean, it might not be entertaining.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you didn't hear that last part of the video where I did the outro because I'm editing this, and to these two idiots, it sounds stupid. All right, but to
Hello.
everyone else, it'll sound slightly less stupid. All right, now go and tell
I
the
am
story.
one of those
Sounds
idiots,
stupid.
and I can agree. That sounds stupid.
Shut up, Sam. You haven't watched it yet.
Alright,
I
so
don't need to watch it. I'm here.
this last one is called The Wren and the Bear. So, there is a fox and a bear. No, actually, it's a wolf and a bear. So, a wolf and a bear are walking through the woods. It sounds like a
And then they
setup
roll
a
up to the
bad trick.
bartender and just like,
Yeah. So, a wolf and a bear are walking through the woods, and the bear says, by the way, these animals wear clothes. So, the bear's talking to the wolf. They hear, a bird up in the sky, and they're like, oh, it's the king bird. Let's go see his nest, or whatever. So, they go up to the nest, and the wolf grabs the bear by the sleeve of his shirt, and he says, no, we can't go there yet. It would be disrespectful to meet the king and queen bird at their nest while they're there. We will wait for them to leave.
where were
So
they
the two
rather
birds
to meet
leave.
them?
I don't know. So they leave, and then they go up to the nest. And in the nest, there are several children. Child bird. And the bear says, they just look like wrens, which is a great insult, apparently. And the baby birds are like, hey, you take that back. And the bear's like, nah. And then the bear and the
Nah,
wolf
B.
leave.
I'm good.
So the baby birds start crying, not only for food, but because they've been insulted. And the king bird comes back, And he tries to feed them, but they refuse to eat, and they say, "The bear insulted us just calling us wrens." And then he also said,
Sam, Google
like,
what a
"Are
wren
we even
is.
related to you?"
What was that?
It's another bird. It's another bird.
Okay.
It's just, I think it's a common bird. So, like, as if they're not special. So, so then the kingbird is like, "Wow, that's a disgrace. I'm gonna go talk to the bear and make him apologize." So he goes to talk to the bear, and the bear says, "Nah, B, those are just wrens. I'm not apologizing for that." And the bird's like, "Then it'll be war!" So they get prepared to go to war. And the bear gathers all of the four-legged
Bear
creatures of the
war.
forest, and the and the bird gathers all of the flying creatures in the forest. And so the kingbird sends all of the gnats to go and spy on
Why
the
does
four-legged
he have authority over
animals.
them?
I don't know, because he's the kingbird. Anyway,
Why does he have authority over insects?
I don't know. They're flying,
Jake,
so I guess.
I don't think this story about talking animals that wear clothes is completely logically sound.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Why do we sound like
Anyway.
William Shatner?
Look, you started it. I just continued it.
There's something on the wing.
So he sends the gnats to go spy on the four-legged animals, and they hide under the leaves and whatever because they're gnats and nobody can see them. So
It's not.
they're all having a meeting.
They're invisible.
Whatever. They're small. They're the
They're not
smallest.
invisible.
They're small. That's the point. So they're going to spy, and the four-legged animals are having a meeting. And they say, "Who will be our leader? Here, Fox, you could be the leader because you're the most sly and cunning of us all. And we need a symbol to, like, have meaning for things while we're in battle because we can't all communicate."
All of this because one bear couldn't read social cues.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah. So the fox goes, "I know, I'll raise my tail up, which means we're good to keep on fighting. But if my tail drops down, that means we've lost all hope and we need to run away." And the gnats, hearing this, report back to the bird, and the bird says, "Hey, Hornet, go find the fox and stab him in the butt as many times as you can so he drops his tail."
Why not
And the
just cut
hornet's
his
like,
tail
"Got
off?
it." Because they're birds. They don't have access to axes.
Then how are
Anyway.
they stabbing him? How are they gonna stab without an
hornets.
axe, Jake?
Hunter,
It's a hornet, Connor.
Yeah, that's the only problem I saw with that sentence.
I'm not sure if he actually was being serious or not.
What?
Let's
What
just
aren't
drop
you
it
sure
and move
about?
on.
How,
We'll just drop
how are
it.
you gonna stab him without an axe?
Hunter, do you know what a hornet is?
Jake, do you understand? That was the bit.
I'm glad it was just a bit. I'm so glad. I was worried I'd have to stop talking to you.
I was
And all of
worried
this
I was
just
gonna have to
because Jacob
euthanize
couldn't
you.
read social cues. Alright, so the war starts and they're both charging at each other and the hornet flanks behind them and they start stabbing the fox in the butt with their hornet needle stingers. Anyway.
Yeah, that was the word. And you go with hornet needle thorns. Oh
And
man, I was
after the first
I was
one, the
walking
fox
down the
was
street
like,
one day, and then I just got stung by a hornet needle thorn.
Yeah, man.
I want to make
Dark
hornet
hornet
needle
needle
thorn
thorns.
T-shirts.
Yes, please.
They can go
If
with
we
the oh
ever
crap
buy-
bird T-shirts.
Buy
Connor,
Connor's
if you
merch
ever
at
get your
Connor's
channel ever gets big enough to
merch.com.
where you have to make merch, then
Yeah, that'll be an obscure reference as like 9 years from now.
yeah, definitely.
Nice. Only true fans will know.
Like, comment and dab if you're a true fan.
So after the first sting, the fox is like, "Youch!" But I won't drop my tail because then everyone would run. And then they sting him a second time, and he lowers his tail a little bit. And then after the third time, he's like, "Screw it!" And then he drops his tail, and then he runs off. And all of the animals give up. And then so the kingbird goes back to his children. He's like, "Children, great news! We've won the war." The children are like, "We're still gonna starve ourselves because the bear hasn't apologized yet." He's like, "Okay, got it." So the kingbird goes.
Okay,
up to
got
the
it.
bear,
Just leaves.
says,
And it's like stupid wrens.
"What?"
Isn't that what they were called?
Yeah, they were called wrens.
Okay,
So-
cool. I just wanted to make sure I
Okay,
didn't mess it up. That was
no.
incredibly likely.
Yeah, so the kingbird goes back to the bear. He says, "Bear, you better apologize to my children, or else I will break all of your ribs."
Why didn't you do that to begin with?
I don't know.
Okay.
And
Why
then
is
the
that
bear
part of the
says,
war?
and the bear says, "Okay, I will, because I'm now scared that you will break all of my ribs." And then the bear
This is a bird
apologizes, and then they
talking to a bear, threatening him.
yes.
This would
Yeah,
be like if
so-
I started threatening Sam. This would be like if Pink started threatening Sam.
Alright, anyway.
Anyway.
So the bear apologizes, and then that's the end of the story.
Cool.
Ra-da-da-da-da-da-da, ra-da-da-da-da-da-da.
So I think.
So because
yep,
this
that's
is
all.
definitely the end of the episode, Jake, do you want to do an outro?